first is the co-option of Kudakwashi Tagirei into the Central Committee, opening path for him to ascend to the presidency as President Emmerson Mnangagwa's chosen successor at the time of Mnangagwa's choosing. The second is the submission of Vice President General Constantino Chiwenga, who, after making so much noise about corruption and rejecting the 2030 agenda, is now bowed to political reality. The third is the formal adoption of the 2030 agenda, as they previously did at their last conference in Bulawayo.
National People's Conference of ZANU-PF held on 26 October 2024 in Bulawayo resolved as follows. In recognition of the extensive developmental milestones and the significant socio-economic progress achieved under the leadership of the President and First Secretary of ZANU-PF, His Excellency.
So we hear him saying there, we are now pushing this forward.
Of the Republic of Zimbabwe.
And now,
Extended beyond 2028 to 2030.
we're now likely to see a legislative process unfold to make this political agenda a legal and institutional reality. Unfortunately, currently there is no meaningful opposition in Zimbabwe. Short of a miracle, nobody can stop this because there is no institutionalized or organized political force capable of confronting it.
The nation. Noting that no notable steps have been taken to implement the above resolution, this conference hereby reaffirms this resolution.
So we see Wopo Chingwana making a comment on this, and what does he say? He says, sometimes ago, when Dr. Ibo Mandaza spoke about the absence of a credible opposition, he urged Nelson Chamisa to decide whether he wanted to continue as opposition leader or to step aside and allow someone else to take over. For that, Dr. Mandaza was viciously attacked by psychopaths on social media who failed to grasp his point. Dr. Mandaza, one of Zimbabwe's most senior and accomplished political scientists, understood the gravity of Chamisa's decision to go on a political sabbatical without ensuring that someone else would take up the mantle of opposition leadership. The truth is that 2 million people voted for Nelson Chamisa, and those 2 million people expect him to protect their interests, whether in government or in opposition. Because Chamisa remains ambivalent about his position, there is now a political vacuum that cannot be filled. Anyone who understands politics or political science knows that as long as someone blocks the path for renewal, or succession, no one else can emerge to replace them. That is the political reality in Zimbabwe. Those who deny this reality deserve the suffering they continue to endure under ZANU-PF rule because they refuse to embrace common sense. Now, as we look ahead with no opposition and no institutionalized civil society strong enough to push back, Zimbabweans must start thinking of alternative ways to influence change or at least secure the bare essentials of life, like a functioning healthcare system, decent schools, and running water in their homes. Even the internal dissent once seen within ZANU-PF allegedly led by General Chiwenga has been neutralized. Many had hoped that the military might intervene, but some of us warned that this was never going to happen based on what we could see on the ground, for saying that we were insulted on social media. Yet the reality is now plain to see. So this is a opportunity on them. Zimbabweans are reaping what they sowed. Each time someone tried to raise ideas or offer solutions, they were dismissed and insulted by people who were more interested in personalities than principle. What ZANU-PF has done is not surprising. It's simply being ZANU-PF. As we move forward, we can only hope that there are still men and women within ZANU-PF whose conscience tells them that the people must be saved, and that they will have the courage to influence President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his team to do what is right. Short of a miracle, there will be no pushback against 2030 agenda. The only viable option left is to appeal to those within ZANU-PF who still have a sense of duty and humanity to steer the country away from total collapse. Oposhimono continues, what I love about time is that it always reveals the truth. Everything that is said with the passage of time will either be proven right or wrong. Everything I've said since 2019 has come to pass, not because I'm exceptionally smart, but because I choose to confront reality as it is. In a nuanced and honest way, I refuse to chase false hope or be swayed by those who exploit people's ignorance to maintain their grip on political opposition. We are cooked. The world's leading superpower is now descended into a form of dictatorship, and to expect any meaningful support from elsewhere is nothing but a waste of time. Even Switzerland, a country historically known for its neutrality and commitment to democratic values, is reportedly now backing the 2030 agenda. That alone tells us that we have reached the end of the road. If there is any hope left, it lies in recognizing that nothing meaningful can be achieved without an organized political opposition. We can either choose to see life through the lens of realism and accept things as they are, or we can continue living under the comforting delusions that have been fed to people far too long. Today, I am not going to bore you with a long article because what has happened is pretty straightforward. The first thing is that for as long as there is no functioning opposition, whether ZANU-PF intends, whatever ZANU-PF intends to do will happen. The party will continue to implement its agenda without any political resistance. The second is that as long as Nelson Chamisa remains ambivalent, choosing neither to lead decisively from the front nor step aside and allow renewal, that indecision will continue to paralyze the opposition. What we have now is a dead political opposition existing only in name. The third is that fighting ZANU-PF on social media will not bring any meaningful change. It might create noise and hashtags, but it will not translate into political reform or improved livelihoods. It is far better to connect with progressive Zimbabwean voices that still exist and work with them to assist poverty-stricken citizens through practical and financial support, rather than continue relying on an opposition that no longer exists in any institutional form. Finally,